Hi, this is Trepacer. Welcome to Trepacer Saturday Horror Reviews. And I picked another selection from the Vincent Price collection, 1964's The Tomb of Ligeia, which is, I don't know if you can see that, the one there with the cat down at the bottom on the left there. This movie, of course, stars Vincent Price, and this is the last of his collaborations with Roger Corman as the director. And in this one, it's different than the previous versions because Roger Corman adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe tales, because this one they actually filmed outside the studio. They went outside and lose. This is the only one of his adaptations, that they actually went on location in England to film part of it. And basically, this was a story of a aristocrat. His name was Vernon Fell. That's the guy. Mr. Price's character's name in this. Yeah, Vernon. Yeah, Vernon Fell. Okay, he was married to the Lady Ligeia, and the movie opens basically with her funeral, with a gentleman carrying her coffin, you know, to the graveyard, and of course pulls up I think a priest, and basically says you can't bury her there because she wasn't Catholic. This is blasphemy against the church, and of course he says, he disputes it and said, listen, Lady Ligeia, excuse me. You know, she's beyond your God and beyond her death. He even reads a passage from her diary that basically says even beyond death, that she will live on. And you see them, they bury her there, and then years later, fast forward to years later, you have a lady, Maria Trevena. She's she's a willful daughter of an aristocrat, and she's you know on a fox hunt, and where she gets kind of sidetracked by seeing an abbey that's in disrepair, and she kind of follows it up, the abbey, and she finds actually the gravesite of the Lady Ligeia, and she's looking at the tomb and the headstone when a black cat mysteriously appears and basically frightens her, where she falls back, and then of course she gets startled again when she meets Vernon Fell, who happens upon her, and she gets frightened and kind of passes out. And then her friend of hers, John Westbrook, comes up, who was on the fox hunt with her, and he sees Vernon Fell, who his friend from years ago, who hasn't seen, who's basically lived as a recluse for all these years. He sees him, and they take her back to his house. He insists upon carrying her back to her. Vernon insists upon carrying her back to his house, and you can see he wears these glasses that are supposed to protect his eyes from the light, because he's basically lived most of the last few years, inside, with without light, so his eyes are sensitive to the light. And Lady Marina is very strong-willed and very feisty, and she even pulls his glasses off in one moment when he's carrying her, which of course causes him to instantly panic. And she puts it back on, and she's drawn to him, despite his rough manner and the fact that he's a recluse and he lives in this abbey that's he's basically gone to ruin. She's drawn to him, and she even insists upon going to see him again when his friend John Westbrook has a note for him. She steals it from the butler and actually decides to go over there because she wants to see him again. At which point she enters the abbey, and Vernon sees her, and he rushes her and grabs her and violently starts shaking her because he mistakes her for his wife, his late wife, Marina, Lady Ligeia, and of course, which totally frightens her. And then he catches himself, and you can see he explains to Lady Marina how his wife his wife was full of life, and she even insisted upon, even when she was dying, that she would not die, that she would come back. And so you see he's obsessed with her. Okay, but Lady Marina is still drawn to Vernon Fell, and they do eventually get married. Okay, and you can see that they're happy once they're honeymooning away from the abbey, and they're happy, and Vernon becomes becomes a whole different person. He's happier, more open, but he insists upon that they come, they're coming back to the Abbey to sell it. You know, they're going to have a party, but they're going to sell the, you know, the Abbey and move away to a brighter place. But of course, this wouldn't be an Edgar Allan Poe tale or Roger Corman film, or Vincent Price film for that matter, if things was going to go that smoothly. Okay, in fact, that very first night when they're having a party to welcome the new couple back to the Abbey before they leave, uh, Vernon Fell actually hypnotizes Lady Rowena, who tells him, you know, he learned this, and he hypnotized her to have a past memory because her mother died when she was little, and she has really no memory of her, but he gets to hypnotize her and gets her to remember the song her mother used to sing to her when she was little and when she was upset, and she remembers that. But then all of a sudden it turns, because then she starts quoting the late Lady Ligeia, and of course she has no memory of doing this, and then things start to get even weirder. Okay, with this black cat that's always, it seems to be tormenting Lady Rowena. It's always in her room, and when she goes to look for her husband, Vernon Fell, he's never there in his room. We insist upon being, you know, when she confronts him with this, he insists that he was in his room, but she has no mention of this, and she mentions it to her friend John Westbrook, who starts to investigate, and he's supposed to be in charge of the sale of the Abbey, and he basically tells Vernon, listen, the house is in Ligeia's name, and there's no real record of her dying, and unless you can prove, you know, that she's dead, or even exhume the body, there's no way that you can sell this Abbey because it's in her name. Okay, and then even more weirder stuff starts to happen. And I really enjoyed this film. This is the last, like I said, the last film that Roger Corman did with Vincent Price for the Edgar Allan Poe, you know, stories. And this one is just full of atmosphere, and Vincent Price's usual great self, playing this tormented guy who's haunted by his dead wife and is trying to move on with his new wife, but yet he's still tormented. And of course, Elizabeth Shepard, she is really, really good. She plays two parts actually. She plays the Lady Rowena and the late Lady Ligeia, and she's good in, you know, in both of her parts. And it's a good movie. Like I said, it has lots of atmosphere as usual. You know, psychological stuff going on and stuff, and you don't know what's real and what's not real. Like I said, Lady Rowena is getting tormented by this cat and by the memory of the late Lady Ligeia, and it's just a really intense film. It's only 81 minutes, but it moves, and it keeps you interested and keeps you up, you know, keeps you invested in it. And it's I guess a lot of people consider this one of the best adaptations, actually the best adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's stories that Roger Corman did. The screenplay was written by Robert Towne, okay, and this, I insist, this was, I conclude this was one of the better ones. I'm not sure about this. This is the best one to me. I still love the Pendulum. That one, to me, I think is one of the best ones, better ones. But this one is up there too as well. So I'm gonna give the Tomb of Ligeia, excuse me, the Tomb of Ligeia. I'm gonna give it a 7.8. I'm gonna give it a 7.8. I thought it was really intense and really good, well acted, and great atmosphere. Vincent Price was his usual great self, but Elizabeth Shepard too, playing those dual roles. I thought she was really, really exceptionally good and a beautiful woman. Okay, and you feel her terror, you know, not knowing what's real and what's happening and what's going on with her husband and what's going on in the Abbey itself. Okay, and that's my review. Let me know what you think. The Tomb of Lady Ligeia. Feel free to leave comments down below. This is Trepacer saying so long and take care.